Have you ever been in a room full of people? Maybe some you know, some you don't. Or even sitting with your partner at the end of the day and still just feeling like completely alone. Or having finally achieved something that you worked really, really hard to get. Maybe it was a promotion, a degree, just something that took a lot of time and effort and your soul put into it, and then something still just felt off. It didn't feel right. It didn't feel fulfilling. Or maybe years of your life trying to be a better version of you, this whole version, this version that you idealize of you, and still something feels like it's missing. I know those acknowledgments can be really hard. They can be tough. They can feel really heavy to be like, yeah, I've been there and it doesn't feel good. But I want to start this conversation by making sure that you are fully aware that there is nothing wrong with you. We have spent so much of our lives learning that belonging, that being acceptable, appreciated, loved, acknowledged, witnessed, depends on performing, on being useful, being quiet, keeping the peace, not rocking the boat, making sure that you are successful in the eyes of society or your parents or your community. And ultimately, we end up with this like shape-shifting chameleon effect for love, for acceptance, to be seen. But at the base of it, these people who are loving us, because we're shape-shifting to be the person that they wanted to love, they're not loving us. These jobs that we're holding aren't necessarily nurturing our soul. And so at the end of the day, it feels wrong. It feels like it's not going to feed you, that you have to get through it. You become resentful and tired, and we start hearing these buzzwords of burnout and nervous system dysregulation when you're feeling emotional. So I want to pose the question, what if home wasn't a place? What if it was a feeling inside of you of being wholly and completely yourself? I know that I've spent a long time with this imagery, right, of home. There's Pinterest boards galore of how do I want my house to look? How do I want to dress? Because I know a lot of manifestation coaches, they talk about, be the person that you want to be. Start living them out loud. What would they wear? How would they respond? What would they say? What would their house look like? And it's all external, and it's beautiful visually, but does it feel like you? With all of these things that we've learned in our life, these defense mechanisms, these patterns, they show up in ways that we don't like, but I want to acknowledge something. These parts of us that maybe explode when we're angry, that cry uncontrollably when we're sad, that don't say the right thing, that hold us back, they're all trying to protect us. Our nervous systems are incredibly intelligent, but the caveat to that is that they're designed to keep us alive. Alive means that we live another day. It doesn't mean that we love our life. It doesn't mean that we feel joy constantly, because the goal is just survival. So when we have these patterns coming up, they are well-worn paths in our brain where we took on a story when somebody told us they didn't like our singing, when a parent who was stressed and dysregulated and I'm going to hope was trying their best said something that your little system took the wrong way, that took in a way, maybe it wasn't even wrong, that took in a way that felt like it needed to protect itself more. Because especially as children, we need love. We need acceptance from our caregivers. That's also survival. And those patterns get practiced day in and day out as we're children through to when we're adults. So those parts of us are not broken. Those habits, those ways we've been behaving, we're not broken, we're not wrong, but they are outdated. We don't need them anymore because we're not in that same situation. But we will continue to attract similar situations because it's what our nervous system is used to. It's what it feels familiar with. There's a saying, better the devil you know than the devil you don't. Our nervous systems see the same unsafe situations and they go, ooh, I know that one. I know how to handle this. Let's go there. Whereas, let's say, a more fulfilling relationship, a more fulfilling place to live, whatever the case might be, it's unfamiliar. So our nervous systems go, I see the potential there, but I don't know how to handle it. I haven't written that code yet. So it's safer to just avoid it. When we start coming back into our body, coming back into relationship with ourselves, to start showing up out loud as ourselves, that's when the true magic happens in life. I've seen so many, and I'm guilty of this myself, where as I had first started to figure out my life, to become an adult, to explore outside of the world that I was used to, I, like so many other women, was called to ritual, to beauty, to pleasure in every experience, to enjoy the things that I was eating rather than eating quickly because I had things to clean, to enjoy my relationship for the highs and the lows. And I had this idea that things had to look magical, to practice in a way where I was setting up an altar, where I was setting my intention, where I was buying the crystals and the specific journals and the tarot cards and the oracle cards and all the things. And while there's nothing wrong with this, I still do it. I still love them. I also acknowledged that those tools were external to myself. They were really beautiful indicators. They were really great visuals so that my system could start to say, I'm setting this time intentionally. I can see the pieces. I have got the tools and I am doing this now. But the more we can start coming home into our bodies to connect with who we are, to take off those performative masks. I had a client the other day tell me, I realized as I was trying to do all of this work that I was hearing about of just being unbothered by other people's issues when they were disrespecting me, when they were having their big emotions, and when they talked to me in a way that I didn't appreciate. I was trying to be unbothered by it. And I realized that that's performance too, because those feelings still exist inside. So the magic happens when we can show up as ourselves, to be authentic, to communicate with kindness, but truth, to hold boundaries, to play, to dance, There was a moment I remember, and I was shopping for clothes. Now, I have kids, and I remember looking at this clothes and going, man, I used to love wearing stuff like that. I still do, honestly. I still loved it. But part of me went, but Tanisha, you're a mom. You can't dress that way anymore. It's not appropriate for moms. It's not appropriate for women your age. And it wasn't just clothes. It was music I was listening to. It was the way I wanted to dance as I went through a grocery store or cleaned my house. I wanted to sing as I vacuumed. And parts of me went, you're too old for that. You need to get serious. You need to clean the house with intention because you have to do this space. And there's this list of stories. So as I started to shake that off and come back into playfulness, into joy, into authenticity with my emotions. When I was sad, I cried. When I was mad, I didn't blow up, but I was honest about it. That's when the real magic started to happen. That's when I didn't have to set aside an hour for yoga and an hour for breath work and an hour for journaling and trying to fit all of these practices into my day. It's when my day became the practice. And every day after that got better, little by little. Now, there were setbacks. That's natural because our brains, our bodies, our nervous systems, again, want to go back to that familiarity. We need to give him experiences to show that they are safe. It's like a kiddo, right? If you have kids or if you don't, maybe you are familiar with the concept that kids learn best through play and experience. You can sit down with a kid, 5, 10, 13, doesn't matter, and lecture them on how to do things. And after about 2 seconds, you see their eyes glaze over and you can tell it's going in one ear and out the other. Or they get annoyed or they get bored and fidgety and they start wanting to go do other things. But when you can show them without telling them what's going on sometimes, you can give them an experience of life that has a lesson, that's a story. Then it's like they come up with it on their own, right? They go, oh, guess what I figured out? You go, oh yeah, that's so smart. We just have to show ourselves. We have to trick our own brains into coming home into who we know we are. Stop isolating from one another. So, all of that aside, there is nothing wrong with you. You are doing the best you know how. And sometimes we just need a little reminding to remember who we are beneath all of the roles that we've taken on: the caregiver, the parent, the daughter, the friend, the mother, the chef, like all of these titles, and go, who am I? What do I want to experience? Because that can be scary. That can mean losing people that we thought were good for us, that we thought were going to be part of our lives forever. And when we can let go of the reins a little bit, we can accept that the people who are going to see us and say, I like that person, not their body, not the way they take care of me, not the way they make me laugh. I like that person and I want what's best for them. Those are the people that are either going to stay in your life or come into your life. And there is still going to be hard times. That's part of the beauty of it. There are going to be moments where we get triggered, that we get to examine with curiosity and openness what's going on and witness the full spectrum of feelings that is being a human. It's not all sunshines and rainbows. And I personally appreciate that. It gives us perspective to have an array of experiences. If you only had sugar for the rest of your life, would you enjoy sugar as much? I know I wouldn't. But I'm curious as to what you would think, because we're all different, and I honor that. So, with that being said, I want to invite you into a time, just a moment in history to remember feeling just like yourself. So, if you're open to it, closing your eyes, lowering your gaze, whatever makes you feel the most comfortable. You can stare at me the whole time because I can't see you right now. And you get to do exactly what is best for you. But if you showed up right now in a way that allowed you to feel back, to look back on a moment in time, not the moment after it, just that moment where you felt fully and completely like yourself, with no judgment as to how that looked, what emotion you were experiencing, whether it was joy or pain or anger or giddiness, curiosity. Feel in your body as you remember that moment in time. How do your shoulders feel? Your stomach, your heart, your scalp, your toes? What emotions are there with you? What does your body want to do? What do you hear? Do you remember any smells? That you is perfect, exactly as you are. And no one has to agree with it because it's not their life. That doesn't mean you get to go be a jerk to people. That doesn't mean you get to go be unkind. That does not give you permission to harm others intentionally. But if being yourself triggers something in others, that's their work. You can learn to communicate effectively. You can learn to acknowledge your emotions in a way that's not toxic or harmful. I love trying to contort to make everyone else happy, and then you feeling isolated and disconnected at the end of the day. How does that make sense? So soak up that feeling of being yourself, that memory, that moment. Take a big breath. Beautiful. Beautiful. We spend so much time, unfortunately, believing that in order to be loved, in order to be in relationship, in friendship, in partnership, even in work, that we have to arrive whole, fully healed, fully knowledgeable, confident, just completely and utterly 100% just done. That we have to be productive constantly, that we have to be fixed to be worthy of connection, of love, or even of doing your work in the world. And for lack of a better word, I don't believe that. Not in the slightest. Belonging begins not when we can figure out who we want to show up as and perform that, but when we come home to ourselves, start remembering who we are and living that, acknowledging that we still have lessons to learn, but living that in a way that allows us to be seen. When we can be seen as our actual selves in the mess, in the beauty, that's when we start realizing, oh, these are my people. This is my space. The space, the physical space, doesn't matter so much. And everything gets a little lighter. Which is why each month I love to gather with women. Because a lot of us are isolated, especially with the way society works. But that might be a conversation for another time. I know that I lived a long time thinking that I couldn't be friends with women because women were a certain way. I had to make sure that the men in my life were happy, that I wasn't being brainwashed by the women. Isn't that interesting? So when we gather in circle as women with other women, knowing that each one of us is our own special, unique journey, and we sit side by side, non-hierarchically, to remember who we are beneath those roles, to come home to ourselves and to witness that in one another, then we get to realize that we're not as alone as we think we are. There are other women having similar experiences or having different experiences that are no less deserving of attention and care and acknowledgement. That we can sit with one another and we don't need to fix each other. We can offer support through care and listening that we don't have to do, we don't have to perform. So this month, in July, in our circle, we explore emotional honesty in whatever that looks like. And belonging in a space that is safe to be brave, where we can agree to disagree, and that we can be with one another as women, as humans, with our own unique experiences. Every month we explore gentle somatic practices to come back into our bodies as vessels that are gifts to experience the sensations, the not just external, but internal, the feelings that happen in our bodies, because so many of us have dissociated from them, whether that's because we're in our heads thinking all the time, whether that's because we feel like we constantly need to be doing outside of ourselves, giving outside of ourselves. A lot of us have lost touch with our bodies. So when we can explore gentle practices that bring that awareness back, we start to remember. We'll explore the protective patterns that have been trying so hard to help us without judgment, with compassion, and hearing them. Because we don't need everything that we've learned in the past. Some lessons can stay there. Some lessons have served their time and their place, and they did a great job, and we can acknowledge them for that and thank them for that with compassion and still move forward. Now, I want to be clear, you do not need any experience to come to a circle like this. You don't need to look a certain way. You don't need to be spiritual. I know when I had first started going to circles and then hosting circles, for some reason, well, I know why. I didn't have a lot of money growing up, so clothes were the quickest way to indicate my status. So I spent a lot of time nervous. Was I dressing the right way? Would people take me seriously if I showed up in my gym shorts and a sweatshirt or a t-shirt or a tank top? You don't have to look a certain way. You get to be exactly as you are, whatever is most comfortable. Show up in pajamas, show up in a ball gown, whatever feels right for you. You don't need to share unless you want to, because this is a space where we get to witness one another. I've heard way too many women say that they talk to their partners and they don't even feel heard. Their partner may sit quietly and listen and say, uh-huh. But that feeling of really being resonated with and heard and understood, many women are lacking. And I imagine many men too, but I hear it more from women. And so in this space, you get to share if you want to, or just sit in the energy. You just have to show up as you are. Now, I've been very excited that I have a space in Portland, Oregon where we get to gather in person. But I know not everybody's there. And I don't want that to be a barrier. I don't want you to feel like you're missing out on a space, on reflection that could benefit you, that could help you in some way. So I've also made an online space. Now, they are a little different because if you're wanting to share, unfortunately, I don't have the time and space to sit and unmute everybody's microphone so that you can share online. But, maybe we can do like some breakout rooms or something like that, where you can connect with a couple of the other people online. Either way, if you can't make it on July 13th, registering, I will still send you a replay. If you can make it on July 13th, I will still give you a replay of the circle, not the shares, because that is sacred. But the practices, the reflections, so that you can come back to them as many times as you want. The more we can come together, the more we can be who we want to be in the world and be the change that we want to see in the world, the more we show up for everyone. There is nothing wrong with you. And I hope that you can remember that in that memory of being yourself for however long or short that instance was. You are beautiful just as you are. And in case no one told you today, I love you. Now, if you want information for joining our gatherings, whether that's this month or next month or beyond, the link is going to be in the description. I hope you have a beautiful, beautiful day.